All right, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us. I will be your host today. Just a little bit about my background. I'm the Agora Legal Product Lead at Constellia. I've been here for nearly 2 years now, but prior to that, I worked in the public sector for 12 years as a buyer, predominantly of professional services and also of construction services. And during that time, I had experience of procuring law firms using the traditional existing routes to market and experienced the problems with those. And so using that experience, I've designed Agora Legal to try and resolve those problems that I experienced. So what we're going to be talking to you about today is basically what we think those problems are with the current routes to market for legal firms and legal buyers, what Agora Legal does to address those problems and how it works. There'll be the opportunity for questions at the end. I think the webinar's in for 45 minutes. This presentation probably won't take any longer than 10, depending on how fast I start to talk. So we've got plenty of time for questions at the end, so please do add them into the chat or in the Q&A function as we go along. So first of all, starting with the very basics, what is Agora Legal? Agora Legal is a flexible purchasing system. So what that means is it's based upon a dynamic purchasing system, but because legal services were a light touch service under the previous set of regulations, we've been able to adjust the way it works. And to reflect that, we're calling it a flexible purchasing system, not a dynamic purchasing system. It is hosted by Bristol City Council, but Constellia are establishing it and managing it on behalf of Bristol City Council. Agora is a unique service offering. It's designed to provide benefits to customers and suppliers. And by suppliers, we mean smaller SMEs as well as the larger legal firms. Just some background about Constellia. Alongside our work for the private sector, we also provide a neutral vendor solution to the public sector, and our customers include central government, local government, combined authorities, NHS trusts and other NHS bodies, as well as schools, academies and universities. We have a proven track record of delivering that neutral vendor solution to the public sector, and we'll be applying our learnings and our expertise doing so to Agora Legal. Agora Legal is a standalone complementary offering that stands apart from our neutral vendor service. Just so you know where we are with the process, the tender is currently live for Agora Legal and it will fully go live in April. So first of all, what is the problem we are trying to fix? I think it's important upfront to acknowledge that although I'm talking about problems, there are significant opportunities for legal firms working for the public sector. There is almost £5 billion worth of spend a year, or in 23-24, and that was a 10% increase, or there will be, I should say, a 10% increase this year, and that trend is something we see throughout the previous decade. So the amount of spend will increase. So there is a big prize there, but there's also a big challenge in that traditional procurement methods exclude SMEs, they exclude specialized firms. And while they're inclusive of larger firms, winning work via those traditional methods is time consuming, it's overly complex, and it's therefore expensive. There's also challenges from a buyer side that we're seeking to address as well. Procurement teams were already facing significant resource pressures, and that's only been made worse by the new Procurement Act going live last month. What that means is they are overly reliant on frameworks, which are seen as a quicker route to market, but those frameworks which do exist are cumbersome, they're overly complex, and so they're more time consuming than they need to be for clients and law firms. And as a result, we see clients actively seeking alternatives. So we aim to be that alternative. And so we've set Agora Legal up in a way that is opposed to the usual routes to market. So what does it do? How does it fix those challenges? First of all, it is a single solution that's available for the entire public sector. While that may not sound unique, what happens in practice is that while there are central purchasing bodies who set up frameworks that are on their surface available for the entire public sector, they're not really. All those central purchasing bodies have their own core market, be that the NHS, be that central government, be that local government. And what that means is they're set up in a way that works for those group of buyers, but it doesn't necessarily work for other groups. And so we haven't done that. We've made it fit for purpose for every possible public sector buyer. We've also set it up in a way that covers the entire breadth of the public sector requirements. So there are 27 lots, and we drew those 27 lots up, obviously in consultation with Bristol City Council, who own the solution, but also some of our other clients. So we've had input from local authorities, from NHS clients, from people in central government, as well as Quangos and everybody else who makes up the public sector. So we know from that engagement that any possible requirement they might have, or is foreseeable at any rate, is covered by Agora Legal. What it also does, it removes complexity, or it removes unnecessary complexity. And through that approach, it gives clients the freedom to specify exactly what they require. So a local government authority can tailor their competitions in a way that meets their requirements, as can, say, a central government agency or even the Ministry of Defence. The processes are based upon a DPS, but using the freedoms of the light touch regime, we've removed the usual drawbacks. And above all else, it levels the playing field and it allows all firms to compete on an equal footing. So how does it do that? We've aimed to reduce complexity at every step. So at the registration stage, access works like a DPS or indeed our usual neutral vendor offering, in that once it's established, providers can join at any time. So obviously we're in the initial tender phase now, which means when it goes live, there'll be a group of suppliers able to be invited to bid immediately, but new suppliers can join that at any time. And there is no cost to apply and there's no cost to bid. The admission process is as simple as I've been able to make it. So what you need to do to be admitted is to complete the SSQ, and the SSQ I've cut back as much as I'm allowed to do under the regulations. And also for each lot you're applying, you just need to provide a case study that demonstrates you're able to deliver the services under that lot. And to answer a question I've already been asked a lot, once it's established and once you're admitted onto the system, you're free to choose on a case-by-case basis whether to bid or not. So there is no requirement, as there are in some frameworks, that say you have to respond to 80% of mini competitions or anything like that. You can be admitted, and if you so chose, if there was a change in circumstances at your firm, to not submit any possible bids. At specifications stage, we've stripped out all unnecessary words and the prescribed added value that's usually in frameworks. Those of you who have experience with the traditional frameworks will know that when they're describing a lot, for example, or the services that are available under a lot, they will use half a page to add absolutely nothing that the 2 or 3 word description of that lot covers. So we've not done that. The lot descriptions are as straightforward as possible. You'll know from the added value that frameworks tend to prescribe the added value that you would need to provide. So that can range from providing free training sessions to even providing free access to meeting rooms in your offices. We've removed all that at FPS level. So clients are able at the point of a call off to decide what added value they would like to see from you, or even request added value as part of their tender criteria. We've simplified the call off process. So using the light touch freedoms, clients are able to make direct awards under Agora Legal, or they can run mini competitions. When they're running competitions, they are able to invite everybody under a given lot in a given geographic area, or they're able to invite a short list of suppliers from within those criteria. I should note at that stage that obviously when making direct award, when shortlisting suppliers to bid, a client still has a duty to secure best value, and therefore it's something we expect to be used sparingly, but nevertheless, it is an option available to them. There's an efficient contracting structure, so it's an end to the frameworks and the contracts that have 24 schedules to complete for every call-off. The FPS has 3 contractual documents in their entirety. There's the FPS agreement, which governs how the FPS operates and how Agora Legal operates, which you would sign on admission to the system. And then when you're awarded work, there are two documents, the client care letter and the terms of business, which would need to be signed. Both of those documents can be amended on a call-off by call-off basis if required. Agora is set up so that clients can run competitions for whichever level and breadth of legal services they require. So they could run a competition for a discrete piece of work. So, for example, could you help us on this particular project? We need some property advice, we need some commercial advice on this one project, and therefore it'd be a quite short, low value contract. Or they could call off all their legal services they require in a given period. So they could every March run a competition for a law firm to provide all their external legal advice for the next 12 months. It's set up to allow for either approach. So our goal is to simplify contracting so that, subject obviously to a client's own internal approval processes, they can complete a direct award in 5 days and run a mini competition in 10. So to kind of state explicitly now what I hope has been implicit throughout thus far, what are the benefits to you in taking part in Agora Legal? First of all, it gives you significant market opportunities. As I said at the start, legal spend across the public sector is nearly £5 billion. Agora Legal will be an easy way to access at least some of that spend, and that will be supported by our proven track record of selling solutions to public sector clients. There's a simplified process, and we're hosted on an easy-to-use platform, which means the cost to sale for any contract, any work is reduced. And just to reiterate, there's absolutely no cost in the solution unless you are successful in winning work. It's been set up in a way that's aligned to customers' agenda. It reduces their admin time at a time of, it reduces their admin burden at a time of significant pressures on their resources, and allows for them as well to deliver the social value they're required to deliver now by leveling the playing field for SMEs. I think most of all, Agora can complement your existing marketing and sales work. You can present it to clients as a potential route to make a direct award to you, and therefore it could be an end to the problem of procurement says no. And we know from our work on our neutral vendor platform that's a particularly valuable offering. And we think it's going to be particularly valuable now that the legal services are subject to the full force of the Procurement Act. We hope as well it's going to be so simple that you'll be actively encouraging clients to use Agora as a route to market for their needs. Most of all, there's no commitment or cost to you at this stage apart from completing the tender process, which, as I've said, is as stripped down as it possibly could be. So there's minimal investment for possible maximum reward. And really, you've got nothing to lose by registering apart from the perhaps hour it takes to complete the paperwork. We hope that you're as excited by Agora Legal as we are. And if you are to take part, what you need to do is to visit simple.co.uk, simple is spelled with a C, and create an account on their platform and apply for admittance. You can do that now before the 20th of March, which is the current deadline, or you can wait until April for the system to be open and then apply for admittance then. What you can also do is there is a middle ground where you could apply for a small number of lots now and then apply for more lots when the system is opened. That is everything I had to tell you so far. So we've got time now for some questions. We've got a slide there with the 4 most frequently asked questions we've had so far. So hopefully that will answer those. But if you've got any other questions, please do drop them in the chat.
I have one question, Stuart, if I may, that's come through this morning. What's the duration of the FPS?
It's a really good point that perhaps we should have covered in the slides. Thank you. So the FPS has an initial contract duration of 6 years, and there's the option to extend for a further 4. It's important important to note that because Agora is an FPS, not a DPS, the end date for DPSs that has been stipulated in the Procurement Act going live does not apply. So Agora Legal will be up and running for at least 6 years.
Thank you very much. If anyone has any other questions, please feel free to write them out in the chat and I'd be happy to ask them for you. Okay, we've got one here. You said no cost at this stage. Assume that means there is a cost at a later stage. What are those costs and how do they work, please, Stuart?
Okay, so those of you from larger firms will be familiar with this setup. Those of you from smaller firms, perhaps not. So there is a framework rebate, which is generally speaking how all frameworks operate, where they are set up in this way that they're open to the whole public sector. The exact process is set out in the FPS agreement that's included as part of the tender pack. But in general, there is a rebate that is payable to Bristol City Council, which we will collect on their behalf of 3%. So what we will do at the end of every quarter is write to anybody who we know has been awarded a contract via Agora, ask what your total spend with your clients has been in that period, and then invoice you accordingly. I should say that total spend obviously does not include disbursements or anything of that nature. It's purely the cost, what you've charged suppliers for your time. Hopefully that answers that, Gary.
Thank you, Stuart. We have one from Felicity. How many members are on the framework?
Felicity, do you mean how many suppliers are on each lot, or do you mean how many likely clients we have? Which way do you mean members? Like
how
clients?
Many clients? Yeah, clients.
So because it's not up and running yet, we don't have any commitments to use the FPS that are binding, and obviously we wouldn't get any binding commitments. Obviously, we're setting it up on behalf of Bristol City Council, so the expectation is that Bristol City Council will use it. We have already started discussions with our strategic clients for our neutral vendor solution about Agora, and the majority of those are interested. Obviously, in this forum, I can't kind of name who they are, but I can tell you they range from local government to NHS to combined authorities, as well as central government and central government agencies. We expect that it will be very successful. We are anticipating, I'm going to get this right, 8 figures throughput in the first financial year, which is based on our engagement with clients to date. I hope that answers the question without being too cagey about the identity of those clients.
That's great, thanks, Stuart. And of course, if you wanted to ask those personally, we could always answer those in the follow-up emails that we sent to you. It's not a problem. Okay. I think that's it, Stuart.
Cool. No other questions?
None at the moment.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. If you do think of questions after the event or when you're discussing it internally, you have any other questions, you can reach us using the details that are on that slide. So agora@constellia.com, and that will be forwarded to the entire project team. One of us will be able to answer. There's also information available online, and we have a phone number as well if you like to get put through to any of us if you prefer to talk rather than email. But I think we are done, so we will leave you to your Friday afternoons. Thank you, everybody.